maybe it's because the 6 o'clock shuttle, but half the plane was empty. Yet, because of the seating assignment protocol, and I'm thinking about the coronavirus here, because of the seating assignment protocol, the first dozen rows were all jam-packed with people, cheek by jowl, shoulder to shoulder on that flight, and then the back of the plane was completely empty. So even though the assurances that you've given, Mr. Leader, about the HEPA filter and all of that, certainly having everybody jammed in with each other while the rest of the plane is empty is probably not a good practice. So, Mr. Klein, you run an airline. Will this take an act of Congress to change the seating protocol so that people aren't piled up when there are half-empty planes? Is that something that you can take on yourself without being directed to do so?
In a way, Congressman Lynch, we don't frequently deal with half-empty planes.
You're lucky.
Our planes are full.
But if this thing goes a year, and CDC and HHS are saying we could be dealing with this for a year, you're going to see a lot of airlines are going to see half-empty planes.
Yeah. So you bring up an excellent question, an excellent point, and one that frankly we're not dealing with today yet. Planes continue to run full. And it's hard for me to comment on that, but it's a good point.
Okay, I don't want to waste all my time on this. It's just, it's probably indicative of the problem we have here. This is a very heavily regulated industry. All I'm saying is, it should be simple. It shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, there are some places with...
And there's a loading issue.
Correct. There's a weight and balance issue as well, so you have to...
I don't want to waste all my time on this.
Okay,
I think it should be easily fixed, and I'll deal with the other airlines individually. The other issue that we're dealing with is... So the CDC is actually asking for information from the airlines. Okay, so you get a passenger who's on a flight. They fly to their destination. They get off. 3-4 days later, they test positive for coronavirus. So now the CDC is trying to get the information from the airline, from the flight manifest, PNR, the passenger name record. Usually has a phone number and an email. So they can tell the passenger that was sitting next to the person that tested positive, hey, you've been in direct contact with someone who has tested positive recently for coronavirus. So we're having a tug of war. The airlines don't want to give up the information. They don't want to cooperate. And so we have a dilemma here. And I'm asking you again, Mr. Klein, not to put you under the gun, but what is the airline position on this?
I can speak specifically to Spirit, and we may be in a position that I may want Dr. Leader to finish up after I give you the Spirit perspective. Is the information that has been requested by the CDC is extremely important, and it hasn't historically been collected by airlines.
The name.
Yep.
Contact, the phone number.
I can comment.
And the email.
Yeah. So passengers that book directly with the airline, all that information is stored in the passenger name record, as you mentioned. If you book through a third party, so for Spirit Airlines, think of someone booking through, say, Expedia.
Yeah, but will you give what you got?
Well, we don't get the information from the customer through that transmission of data.
Some customers you do.
We do, and we have the information. What I was going to say is we have the ability through our system. It's very inefficient, but we are collecting per the CDC requirements to collect information as the directive has come in. We've been able to address that. Not every airline can because it's not automated, and it's information like email address and cell phone number of each individual passenger is not something that's stored on the record. So you have to go get that information upon check-in. It's inefficient and hard to get. Not saying it's not important to get. We have the ability to do that in our reservation system. I'll hand it over to Dr. Leader maybe to talk about other airlines because that might be important.
Mr. Leader, you're recognized.
Yes, of course. So from the global distribution systems that are used, when airlines are collecting information directly, if they have an email and phone number, they are happy to provide it to the CDC for the safety of our public. In instances where historically Expedia and other online travel agencies have held back this information, I think you're going to see a wall break down because if the CDC requests it, I believe that the OTA behind the reservation will offer it to the airline, which historically they have not. So
it's important information to have, especially for that passenger and their family. They want to know that they've been in contact with someone so they can take those precautions. Madam Chair, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Indiana, Mr.